Very good morning to everyone, and happy new year. I'm Chloe Tetro. I am the health coach here at Ready Care, and hope you've had a wonderful holiday in whatever way that you celebrate. For this morning and going forward into January, we will be having a quick look at getting back on track if you have deviated slightly from your original health and wellness plan, and how to give yourself the best leg up going into January. So for this morning, getting back on track after Christmas, after a little bit maybe of food indulgences, and a breakdown in the routine that you would have been more used to following. So that's it's a fairly natural part of a lot of people's years. They will find that the consistency that they would have worked towards, the routines they may have worked towards for the year, start to break down with things like breaks in work routine, which can bookend the day, give very clear schedules to the day. Holidays can really upset that bookending routine of the day. There is more temptation, more invitations to go out to parties, anything like that. So it can be just a fact of life that sometimes during December really it can be a lot more difficult to stick to established health and wellness routines. So going into January, we might take a look this morning at just some of the facets that can help you if you are finding going back on track has been a little bit more difficult than you're used to. So to begin with, start at the beginning, I suppose. Commit to commence. So why I added that is the old chestnut of I'll start on Monday, I'll start on the 1st of January, I will start tomorrow morning, I'll start at the end of the month, which is one that I've actually heard a good bit, oddly enough. I'll start at the end of the month. So there's always that kind of pushing off. And you'll notice that the more you push something out, the larger it becomes, the more difficult it becomes to actually get back into it, because each time something is pushed out, you have a longer space of time with the routine being upset and all of the things that fill that gap. So where you would have had an established blocked routine, all of the things like foods that may not need cooking, snacky foods, staying, using the time that you would have taken to maybe go for a walk or to go to the gym or to prep your week ahead, give yourself that planning time. What can fill that in the absence of routine are the siren song of the next episode on Netflix. It can be the doom scrolling. It can be just sitting down and finding that the time is passing. You might be having a lovely time, but you'll find yourself after a while going, oh, gee, because it's very hard to get back into the way that I was doing things. So the further out something is pushed, the greater upset to the routine, the more you're establishing this new routine of doom scrolling after work, or whatever is filling that is getting reinforced. So committing to commence is kind of a crucial point. That, look, most of the time there's never going to be a perfect time to do anything. What's important is starting and do it imperfectly. If you still have some foods here and there, or if you know that it's lashing rain and look, today's not going to be the day to go out for the walk, if you commit to start at least, it's going to really push you into, we're doing this. It doesn't have to be a breakfast as your first healthy meal. It can be a dinner. There's no better time to start than right now. So reconnect with your initial drive. And this is really the crucial point. If I can hammer anything home this morning, reconnect with your initial drive is it. So basically, think back to why you wanted to make the health and dietary lifestyle change, whatever it might be, and this is applicable to things outside of purely health metrics. So reconnect back to why you wanted to do the thing. why you felt it was important to change certain aspects of your life for the better and to introduce something else in, whatever that initial goal, whatever that initial routine was. So the more you connect back, the greater your motivation is going to be. The more you connect back into that sense of desire. So desire, there was a paper in the Journal of Experimental Psychology that shows the more you want something, the less difficult it appears to be. And we can see that, I mean, if you think of a very enthusiastic friend who has a brilliant idea for a business that they absolutely want to start, you could be saying to them, oh yeah, but what about this and what about that? And they go, no, it's perfect, we're doing it. Or whatever it may be. But yeah, in terms of your neurological neurological processing, the greater the drive, the greater the perceived reward, the more you get a kind of blinder focus to this is what I want, this is what I'm getting. And all of the obstacles, which seem quite large when you're not quite in the headspace, they start to go down considerably in size. And you start to be able to think of options and bypassing and how to get around things a lot easier. So reconnecting back into what it is that you want, what it is that you want about this goal, what is it going to bring you that's intrinsically rewarding, firing off all of that reward center, all of that initial dopamine, which is great to kind of start you off on the initial step. So if you think about athletes and really, really high performers, once they have the eye on the prize, so to speak, and they know what it is they're going to achieve, a really good trick is visualization. And it's not just to get a better picture, but actually what you're doing is you're creating additional neural pathways. So the more you picture something, the more of your brain is engaged with something, the more it fires all your little neurons associated with the goal. And the more they're fired, the easier they are to access. And the more they're fired, the easier it is for your brain to see opportunities for that. So our brain is an organ of associations. And if you give yourself loads of imagined sensation imagery, so things like what would it feel like to be there, what could I hear once I've achieved it, how will I feel emotionally, psychologically, physically, all of these things. The more information you can give your brain, the more it's going to go, yeah, we like this a lot, and your desire will go up, your perceived level of difficulty of something will go down. So it's kind of it's one of the best ways. It's one of the best ways to really hone in, especially if you've fallen off the horse a little bit. Really reconnect to what it was about wanting to do this that was important to you. Why there's a level of urgency to it. So the other little points I'll pop in is set realistic goals, and people hear this a lot, but really, if you are looking to go to a point of so you have your state that you're in now and you want to attain a different state. Be very clear about the direction that you're going. So that's your initial drive, and your goal need to be very, very clear. You also want to be clear about where you're at now, so that you can undertake the journey to it in a way that isn't climbing Mount Everest in a day, but setting yourself little goals along the way so that you don't burn yourself out, and you can get incremental rewards as you're going. And that can help to really drive the motivation to keep going through each step. So why I mention realistic goals is, first of all, especially this time of year, if people have put on a little bit of weight, which can happen, or if they've fallen quite out of their routine, there's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's gone. I'll say it another way. It can be something that people will go, oh, I have to do extra just to punish myself for, these additional pounds I might have put on, or I have to go absolutely hell for leather, all or nothing, black and white, just because they feel a little bit, maybe there's a little bit of guilt there, otherwise they they're kind of beating themselves up. But what happens is you burn out really, really quickly. You'll get all of the novelty factor, which is powered by basically quite a negative emotion, especially if it's in and around things like guilt and shame. And it's powered by an emotion that makes you feel bad, basically. And that can be motivating, in inverted commas, at the start. But essentially what you're doing is you're feeding quite a negative thing. So even when you achieve something, you're feeding a negative thing. You're reinforcing the belief systems that there's something shameful about gaining a few pounds, or that you are an imperfect being unless you don't have those pounds. Then you can be a perfect being. So basically, you'd be feeding something that's quite negative, not great, and absolutely not sustainable long term in terms of having a healthy relationship with your goals, with yourself, and where you want to be. So breaking it down into something that makes sense, that is ultimately powered by your desired outcome, that thing that's going to make you feel good, that thing that is positive, that thing that feeds who you are as a person, what you deserve as a person, as something that is greater than, and something that's a good thing to be going towards. And how you create realistic, smaller goals based on that. The biggest tip I would give in terms of realistic goals is go back into your memory of you doing what the initial target was in the first place. And instead of judging what you're able to do in a day by your best day, you remember, oh God, that day I was able to go to the gym, I had everything prepped, I did this, I did that, I did this, I also did all the shopping, I also answered all my emails, I did this and this and this. That's what I should do every day, because that's me at my best. The difficulty with that is that there's a level of fluctuation of energy that comes in. There's a level of fluctuation of demands outside of your control that can come in on a day-by-day basis. So if you judge yourself by that one fluke day where you got loads of things done, and not being able to attend, or not being able to achieve, based on that perfect day, let's say the perfect storm, the fluke, you're going to feel like you are underachieving, that you only got 3 items done out of your list instead of 5. And it's really setting yourself up for disappointment, and something that is not consistent, not realistic, not sustainable in any way. So what I would say is judge yourself based on the medium. What is the average day? What is attainable in an average day that allows you to have that little bit of a stretch, small bit of stretch, so that you feel like you've achieved something, that you've pushed yourself, but is not going to drain you. It's not going to overtake absolutely everything and become something that you go, oh God, I can't face that now, I don't have the energy. It really should be something that seamlessly interweaves into your day, that you're able to, pick out 2 or 3 things that you really, really want to achieve that day, in a realistic way that allows room around it for life, that allows room around it for, if something happens that you didn't quite plan for, it's not going to be too much of a stretch. So the other thing I'll say with that is, what obstacle can you anticipate? Which ties into this quite a bit. It's in terms of real life scenarios, not, no job, no demands, loads of money, no stress, etc., etc. 8 hours perfect sleep every night. What can you foresee as you're undertaking, going back into your goal? What obstacles can you anticipate? Now, that can be within yourself or within your environment. Is it something like, God, I know if it's raining, I'm not particularly going to want to go out for a walk, because I can see that was an issue before. So what you're doing is you're doing a quick overview of what worked before, what didn't work. And before you even begin on this new leg of the journey, you're seeing, what obstacles can I anticipate? If it's raining, last time I didn't want to go out. So what could I do? Okay, I'll put 15 minutes aside, which is basically how long the walk would have taken, and I'll do something indoors. So you're doing the if this scenario arises, this is the solution that I can come up with. If you go, okay, the last time that I tried to be super, super consistent, I found at the weekends there was too much going on in my real life demands. So making lots of goals and plans that were around the weekend didn't really, really work. So I'll stick to the Monday to Friday. So what obstacles can you anticipate and set up a solution before you even begin? It's one of the best ways to really feel prepared going into something, to really feel like you're tailoring your program to suit your own life. And lastly, I will say consistency establishes routine. So in line with keeping with realistic goals and the obstacles that can be anticipated, expecting too much too soon is unsustainable, unrealistic, unkind to yourself, which is a big one as well. You want to be kind to yourself when you're getting back into health and lifestyle dietary changes, because really, ultimately, these are things you choose to do for yourself long term. They're things that aren't just, I've ticked the box and there I go. They're things that become part of the fabric of your life and who you are. So consistency establishes routine. Routine will take so much effort out of your day because you won't have to make all these choices. It'll just be something that happens. And small incremental steps they'll all add up to something far greater than 2 weeks of going absolutely hell for leather, beating yourself up, forcing yourself into something you don't particularly want, or doing it from a kind of mindset of I should be doing this and oh God, I feel so bad about this and that. No, all aside. Consistency will help you to get to your goal in a way that will make you feel nourished, empowered, motivated, all of the lovely things. And if you can see an incremental move in the right direction per day, that is worth so, so much. So to summarize, getting back on track. Oops, I'll get rid of my old banner there. Snoop. There we go. So make a start. Forget about the Mondays, forget about the next week, next month, when the planets align and everything falls into place. Make a start. Your next meal. Take out a piece of paper, plan it out, do your little prep work around it. Make a start. That's it feels like it's too obvious to say, but really you'd be surprised. Reconnect to why do you want this? What is it about it that drives you? What is it about it that you really, really can see you're going to gain something from? In gaining something, the more you want something, the less difficult it will appear to be. So it's going to be a lot easier for you to stick to. Visualize achieving it. The more information you feed your brain about the goal, the target, and achieving it, the greater the connections in the brain are going to be, the easier it's going to become. It's not going to seem like this total change. You'll have primed yourself to achieve what it is that you want to do. Set realistic goals. Don't take on Everest in a day, and don't do it from a position of beating yourself up. Don't feed anything negative like shame, guilt, shoulds, ought tos. Think about something that is going to be positive for you, that you're going to get something brilliant out of, and it's going to make your life a lot easier. The realistic goals, breaking it down day by day. Don't overstretch yourself. Be kind to yourself. Allow yourself to be proud of yourself for having stretched just a little bit each day, but not to the point of exhaustion, because life happens. You're not going to have the perfect storm day every single day. You need to account for things outside of you, things that fluctuate like energy levels and demands. What are you going to do to get in your own way? What have you learned from the last time that you can really implement into this time around to give yourself the best chance? What is it that didn't particularly work? With all best intentions, sometimes things just don't work out, and that's okay. And see if you can think of a nice little alternative that's not going to be a pain for you, and it's going to be another way for you to feel proud is that you are preparing yourself in a way that makes sense. And remember, consistency, incremental progress beats 2 weeks of going hell for leather every single time. So that's that covered. If you guys have any comments or anything you'd like to pop into the chat, please do. I'll leave 30 seconds on that, as I usually do. And you know what? Don't worry too much. Don't worry too much. Don't feed the stress. Don't feed the negativity. We're all just human beings, just doing our best with things. It's a time period. Health is a spectrum as well. You know, there's no snapshot of, oh, the last 2 weeks I overindulged, therefore blah, 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 blah. No, it's a spectrum. It's how have you done over the last number of months? All of these things add up. So it's a new year. Set some lovely goals for yourself that are going to really nourish where it is you want to be at for yourself. Be kind to yourself. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. I can see there's no comments for today, and that's no problem at all. So Andrew will be back next week, and I will chat to you guys later. Bye now, and mind yourself, and best of luck.